Good morning, guys. Stefan here, and welcome to episode 1 of season 2 of the Digital Commando show. Now, once again, thank you to everybody who watched season 1. It was absolutely immense. Took off loads more than I thought it would, actually. But it was wicked. We had over 100 guests across 50 episodes, over 1 million views. It was absolutely awesome. So, we're back again for a second season. Now, bringing somebody back from season 1 actually today to kick off episode 1. We've got one of my favorite guests of season 1. He's going to be joining us in just a second. So, guys, just to remind you, you can jump into the comments if you're watching us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, anywhere. You can jump into the comments and put your questions in there for Duncan and myself at any point, and we'll keep an eye on those. Okay, guys. So, without further ado, let's bring him into the room. Right, here we go. Duncan.
Hey. Hi, everyone.
Thank you very much for joining me today. How have you been?
I've been really good. Really good.
Superb. Tell us a bit about what you've been up to since we spoke to you in season 1.
Oh, well, so season 1, gosh, that was a while ago, wasn't it? Lockdown's happened since then, hasn't it?
Yes, we went into lockdown, I think, just after you were on the show, actually. I think we were just kind of going into it.
It's been absolutely brilliant for me. And I almost feel a little bit guilty saying that, because I know a lot of people out there have struggled and have had some really tough times. But actually, I'm in an incredibly fortunate position. It's worked really well. Don't get me wrong. I've had some stuff happen. It's not been great. There's been some difficulties along the way. But no, I'm very, very lucky. So just before lockdown all started, I released a free ebook on basically how to look after your mental health and well-being in a situation where you are isolated from other people. I called it the Coronavirus Survival Guide. And I actually released that before the Monday before they announced the lockdown, which was just really lucky. For that, it was lucky, obviously.
I remember getting a sneak peek at the artwork. I was really impressed. I was like, these look really cool.
Well, yeah. So working with Simon as the designer, he's amazing, and I can do content, but
he designed all of this actually underneath where our border is as well.
Nice. So I did that, and it meant that there were a lot of people out there who already had challenges and issues and difficulties, particularly around anxiety, who then when lockdown started, it got worse, and they finally reached out to get the help that they really could have done with already. Because a lot of people have this perception that anxiety is just something you've got to live with and learn to deal with or battle against. And you know what? It really isn't. And actually battling against it makes it worse. So off the back of that guide getting out there and doing so well, that allowed me to help a load more people that I wouldn't otherwise have been able to reach and help. So that was a great start to lockdown. I then made a decision to come away from something that I'd been heavily involved in, which was a great thing, but I just didn't have the time to devote to what they were looking for in the way that they wanted it to be done from that point forward. And in taking that step back, I realized how much time I had sunk into that, which meant I had loads more time to be focusing on growing my business. And there was something that I used to do in person a while ago, which was called Relax Club. So as a hypnotherapist, I use hypnosis, hypnotherapy, and other tools in various ways one-to-one. But actually, hypnosis in itself is just really relaxing, and there's so many benefits that come from just enjoying that relaxation. So I used to basically every Thursday night I did Relax Club, and a group of people would come together and we'd all just fall asleep. People would pay to come and sleep with me.
That's cool. And I love that the branding as well. So totally like, anybody want to come and pay and sleep with me? But not like that. It's fine. But that was really good.
So I'd never considered doing that online. It just wasn't a thought pre-lockdown. And then when lockdown came about, people needed it more than ever. Partly, something to do, a regular, recurring commitment every week, the ability to socialize afterwards and mix with other people that you wouldn't otherwise be seeing. All of this stuff on top of the benefits of the hypnosis and the relaxation itself. So I created Relax Club online, which allowed people to do that, as well as allowing me to help people on a subconscious level, on that deeper level. It's something that I practice and preach, taking the time to look after yourself properly and look after your mental health. And that's both people who are suffering and challenging times and finding things difficult. Putting that down and taking the time out is so beneficial. But then also, when you're in a good place, maintaining that, being proactive. Like when we talk about physical health, the first thing that normally comes to people's minds is eating a salad and going for a run. Yeah, looking after yourself and being healthy. We don't think straight away when someone says the words physical health. The first thoughts aren't, diabetes and heart attack. But when we say mental health, the first thing that comes to people's mind is anxiety, depression, and then maybe more serious or more difficult issues as well.
Yeah.
Why is it when we say mental health, people don't think about looking after themselves and getting mentally fit in the way that we do physical health?
Yeah.
And so part of my ongoing one-man mission is to change that perception and get people to think about mental health proactively and positively. And Relax Club is just a great way to help people do that for themselves more easily.
Yeah, absolutely. And people would have seen that. And one of the reasons I don't talk about too much is like one of the things for me, big time between obviously the end of the last season and the beginning of this season, was that a lot people won't have seen me on camera as much as they would have previously, because I looked ill, like a mess. Like I'm just about getting back to normal, and then I went for a bloody swim this morning, didn't I? And then now it's all gone red again. But my eyes were knackered, like my mouth was knackered. Everything was just, I looked genuinely ill. I wasn't sleeping. I was working too hard, long hours, everything. I was just burning the candle at both ends. And obviously I've joined Relax Club last night, prime example. I just could not sleep. I was tossing and turning, just trying to get right. And then I was like, hold on a minute, I've got Relax Club. And I put Relax Club on. And I used the, which one was it? It was like walking in the
Woodland Walk?
The Woodland Walk, yeah.
Is that the one? Yeah, good track. That's my personal favourite.
It's like a guided meditation through. And that worked really well for me. And I can't remember getting to the end of it because I was asleep.
That's
so it absolutely did the job for me. So thank you, Duncan, for sharing that with us. So these are things that are very inherent in you. Like you've obviously got, you do this. It's very much a selfless role. I know that obviously there's a financial part to every business anyway, and you get that. But from talking to you and knowing you for quite a while now, it seems that there's actually more to it than just a financial aspect. I can tell you're not doing this to get money. Obviously, the money is great, but
so back at the start, when I first started my business, and this is the wrong attitude to have, wrong. That's so common. When I first started my business, I just wanted to help people, and so I just wanted to earn enough money to keep helping people, and that's rubbish, because all you're ever going to do with that mindset is earn enough money to keep doing it, and that's no life. That's not good for me. And not most importantly, but in keeping with that mindset at the time, most importantly, I can help more people if I'm in a better place myself.
Yeah.
So the more that I help me, the more that me helping others benefits me, the more I can then help even more people and gain even more benefit. And it becomes a positive and virtuous spiral where surely the world's just better if everyone's helping each other, right? So you say it's a selfless thing. And back then I would have seen it that way myself. Now, no, it's not. It's not selfish. But I'm absolutely at the center of that, because if I can't look after me, I can't help anyone else. And the more I look after me, the more I have to give to others. I love helping people, but I love helping people partly for selfish reasons, because the more people I help, the more I feel good. I love helping people. I don't just do it to help people. I do it because I love helping people, and it makes me feel really good.
So what was the part within you that changed that outlook and that perspective? So you went into it, obviously at the beginning, wanting to help people. And then obviously that was always throughout and still is now. But what was it that made that switch to go, hold on a minute, I need to this doesn't work as a model?
Well, realistically, it was less about that, and it was more about money mindset. So that's where a lot of this came from, was that limiting beliefs around money. And given what I do for a living, and I work with the mind and how we think about stuff, I probably should have known better. But that's part of the brilliance of it as well, is that it gave me, when I became more aware of it, and when I realized it was holding me back. So I've been doing what I do for like 14 years. I've been doing it as a business, as in this form, as Mind Affinity, for 3.5 years. So it was that point when I started it 3.5 odd years ago that I was, I just want to help people. And at that point, I definitely still had barriers around my own mindset, around money, and around, who am I to be successful? And so I don't think it was any one thing. I think it was partly spending time with and getting to know and interact with other business owners who actually wanted a real business, not a hobby that paid them. And like I'd known and spent time with people who very much had a business that was just a hobby that paid them, or was enough to keep them going. And I realized that that's not what I want. That's not me.
Well, they want it either.
Well, no, it rarely is. It rarely is. And I'm pretty good at recognizing, though, when I recognize them, the more I become aware of those things, the more I realize that when you notice it, I used to beat myself up for that. You notice something that, for me especially, noticing a flaw in my mindset, given what I do, would initially frustrate me. Now, when I notice it, fantastic, because if you don't notice it and acknowledge it, you can't change it. So it was that process of embracing my flaws, my failures, and loving that, because it gave me a chance to improve. And hello to everyone whose comments were just popping up.
That's all right. Yeah, so no, this is one of the things. I like how you mentioned failure there, because failure is something that has always been inherently drilled into me in business ever since I started. And there were so many different cliches that people used to come out, especially in the finance industry, which was, don't worry about failing, fail forward, continue and keep going for it. And then there was things like, it's fine, you can, like, I live super high risk. Now, everybody who knows me knows that I am massively on the high risk spectrum when it comes to business. I don't take really long time to make decisions. I make a decision. If I make the wrong one, doesn't matter, because I've made 10 more since then that have probably rectified it. So for me, I make decisions really, really, really fast, which for some people works, some people doesn't. For me, I think it does. But this is where you can make big mistakes. But we've seen some of the top people in business make epic mistakes. Look at Branson killing it. Still killing it now. He's struggling a little bit, I think, at the minute. But generally speaking, he's got, how many times has he been bankrupt now? 2, 3 times. But the mentality there is to come back, and that's absolutely fine. Now, with this, like, we've watched so much from entrepreneurs online. I'm not going to mention anybody in particular, but lots and lots of entrepreneurs, and not just one, lots of them, always talk about this. There's so many hours in a day. Absolutely smash it. Hustle, hustle, hustle. You've got to do it. You don't just sleep less. Who needs sleep? Sleep when you're dead. All this stuff, which is bonkers. Now, one of the things, obviously, I see entrepreneurs really going for it, even young ones now coming straight out of uni, really pushing it and to the next level to try and become successful in their own right. Now, burnout is affecting business owners, I think, more than it ever has. Even with everything that's going on in the world right now, people are working harder because they have to. Now, Duncan, what would your advice be to anybody at the minute who's really, really hustling, giving it their all, but they are on the brink of burnout?
Cool. So the initial, the obvious advice I would give is do less. Take some time out and look after yourself. But the chances are, if someone fits the category that you've just described, they're not going to be interested in doing that. They're going to be resistant and resilient to that and go, no, I just need to do more. I just need to do more. So because they're not likely to listen to me saying, stop, join Relax Club, obviously, take a moment out to look after yourself. And like genuinely doing that will give you so much more benefit. So for example, if we look at productivity, because ultimately there's no point being busy if you're not being productive, right? And this is the thing, that hustle, hustle, hustle tends to just encourage busyness for the sake of being busy. And that's rubbish. So taking time to look after yourself allows you to get into a place where you're going to be much more productive, much more creative, and the time that you're spending on stuff, you're going to do a much better job with. But they're still not going to listen to that. They're going to agree maybe and go, yeah, that sounds great. And then they're going to throw themselves into doing anyway. So what I would say is if you're not prepared to break that cycle by actually taking some time, and the best time to do it for most people is first thing in the morning. So if you're going to be getting up and getting straight on, get up and take the time to really center yourself and be clear on what matters, and take some time to relax then, so that you can then hammer on. But if you're not going to do that, then look at what you can do throughout the day, little and often, that can make a positive difference. So have you ever found like you can be working at a computer for X amount of time and you're just starting to feel more tired and more tired and more tired, but you go for a walk in the woods and suddenly you got loads of energy back?
Yeah.
And that's because a change is as good as a break, I think is the old saying. Yeah. But doing something different, you get fatigued with what you're repeating. If you then go and do something different, you will be less fatigued. So if you need to hustle, 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 then hustle, hustle, hustle for a shorter period of time on that one thing, so you can then go and hustle, hustle, hustle on something else. So you're breaking it up. Make sure that there's times where you're using your creativity and you're really embracing that. And then other times where you're doing the logical, functional stuff. And then other times when you're doing something physical. All of these things will help you. The most important one, though, is to breathe. It sounds daft, but breathe. So stress is a good thing, okay? Stress in itself is not bad. It's how you manage that stress that makes the difference. And stress can be one of the best motivators. For example, if my house is a mess and I phone someone and say, hey, want to come round in half an hour? You'll be amazed how much cleaning I can do in half an hour. But if I've got all day to do it, guess what? It'll take me all day to do it. So positive pressure can be a really good thing. But the way that we're designed to deal with stress is we're designed to have a stress, deal with stress, put down the stress and rest and recover. Then we end up picking up the next stress. So, we're ultimately with wild animals in tribal times because that's how we're physiologically evolved. It would be some predator that we need to escape from or kill. We'd do that, then we'd go back and we'd go, and we would stop and we'd rest. And then we'd go and do the next thing. We're designed to work that way. But what we tend to do in this modern world that we live in is we get off of that phone call, we're like, right, I've got all that to do, okay. And then we're straight on to replying to that email, and then we've got the boss walking in or a client calling up or whatever, and you go from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, which means your stress level is slowly rising. You've got more cortisol and adrenaline and other hormones pumping through your body, and you're not taking the time out. And then you're like, oh, it's lunchtime, but I can't, I've got to hustle through, hustle. So you're eating a sandwich at the desk on the go, and like, you're physically not built and designed to be able to carry on existing in that fashion. Mm. You don't need to go and take an hour for lunch. But when you go and make a coffee, leave your phone on the desk, go and make that coffee, and allow your thoughts not to be thinking about what you're going to be doing next, but just to think about some relaxing thought. Think about a happy memory. Think about those other things in life that are important. Why are you doing all this hustling? Because you've got a reason for it beyond the hustle, right? If you haven't, then stop hustling. Because introducing those little bits, taking a breath between tasks, standing up and walking around the office between emails, little things like this can make a huge difference. And it's my hope that as people start to notice the huge difference that they make, doing these little things that don't take any real time out of the day, they'll start to embrace the idea of doing more things to look after themselves, which in turn will actually make them more productive in the time that they are spending working and hustling.
Absolutely, and I think it is a misconception, I think, with people that do that. And I think you mentioned stress and how we try and get tasks done in certain orders and things. Now, as human beings, we do tend to like the path of least resistance as well, which is annoying, and we shouldn't do it. So if anybody hasn't read Eat the Frog or Eat That Frog, then go and read it. If you are constantly feeling stressed because you've got one big thing that you need to do all day, and you put it off and put it off and put it off and do all your other stuff, and become a bit of a busy fool because you've got loads and loads of stuff done, but not the one thing. And that's another good book, actually, The One Thing. But the one thing that needs to get done. Now, we've talked about to-do lists and stuff loads on series 1, so I'm not going to go into it too much. But realistically, having these big, long to-do lists and never getting anything done, when actually, if you were to put down like the 2 most important things that you need to complete in a day, and make sure you focus on them, you will, at least at the end of the day, feel like you have achieved something. Now, Duncan, we mentioned success a little bit earlier in the show. Now, this is something I love talking about, success, because for me personally, it was always very financial. I was like, right, okay, I need to get this much money so I can buy this, and then I want to get this much money so I can buy that. And it's strange because then when you get the money, it's not a driver anymore. It's like, oh, I got here, I bought the thing, I'm not really bothered. I actually don't even want the thing anymore. It's really strange.
So when we look at happiness, because most people, success is different for everyone, and even people who are financially driven and their idea of success is more money, it's normally because they feel that that's going to bring them happiness in some form, or fulfillment rather than happiness. But the key to fulfillment and that form of happiness, actually, there's 2 types of happiness, kind of intrinsic and extrinsic. So when we get a new car or a new TV, or we earn that next figure, that's very extrinsic happiness. So that is, hey, look what I've got kind of happiness. And there's nothing wrong with that. It feels great. Embrace that it feels great. But it fades. And it fades far quicker than you would think. As humans, we are really adaptable. We may hate change, some of us. I know you love it, Stefan. But we are very, very adaptable. You would think and here's a really simple test for it, right? Go and speak to anyone who's paralyzed or quadriplegic and wasn't born that way, but became that way. Okay. And okay, may have been a bit bold to say to speak to anyone who's done that, but it is documented time and time again that people who have gone through that, you would expect them to be far less happy. Their happiness level you would expect to be much, much lower. But that's not the case. It is at first, but most of them then completely realign their goals and their aims and what they want in life, and actually end up becoming much happier, much more fulfilled as a result. If they can adapt to suddenly a complete change of lifestyle, then imagine how easy it is for us to adapt to a shiny new TV, right? You go, wow, this is huge. And a couple of weeks later, it's just the TV. It's no different to how you felt a few weeks back watching your old TV. You've just got used to it. And that's going to constantly happen with extrinsic stuff. So if you're chasing, I just need to earn another 10 grand a month, I just need to earn another whatever, then you're never going to achieve fulfillment with that, because you end up with ends goals rather than means goals, is another way of looking at it. You know, you're just chasing something. When you get it, you've not actually achieved anything other than in the moment. Whereas if you spend your time and money not on fancy watches, he says wearing an Apple Watch, and instead on experiences, on, if you're a social person like me, on going out with people, on holidays and adventures, on whatever, and that can be on your own, or it can be with people, or it can be whatever. But if you spend your time and money on experiences, you're going to be much, much happier, because you don't go on holiday some people might go on holiday just to post a picture of it to Instagram, but the vast majority of people go because they're enjoying these experiences, and that brings you intrinsic happiness. That's something that's very internal and will last because you can look back and remember those things. Like if I ask you now to think about, 3 happy memories that come to your mind from at least a year ago and before, what are the first 3 things that pop into your head?
They're probably all business related, but
Yeah, that's okay. They're allowed.
some of them will be abroad, going to Spain, working abroad over there. It's difficult this year, isn't it, to be fair?
Sorry?
It's a difficult year.
Yeah. So, well, before that. So think. Oh.
I'll be back in a sec. Go on.
Okay, no worries. So yeah, think about stuff from like 5 years ago. What are the memories that stand out to you from 5 years ago?
So 5 years ago, I was at 2014. I was launching the company.
Very exciting.
Which was super exciting. Yeah, I was bringing on new staff, which was incredible. We were going to loads of events, traveling up and down the world, and across the world in different countries.
All of that was business related. Fine, but it was starting the company. It was the beginning of something new. You said meeting loads of new people or employing new people, bringing new people into the team. Like it's people focused. Going to loads of events. That's going and doing stuff with people. At no point did you say we made our first sale. You celebrate the first sale. That's great. But the thing that really stayed with you is what you were doing at the time, the people you were with, and all of that stuff. Like, no one goes, one of the best times of my life was when I was head down hustling and didn't ever take a break.
Yeah. This is one of the things, and it's interesting you mentioned about obviously like holidays and people traveling abroad. I wrote a blog, must have been, 3 years ago now, which is still as true today, or maybe not literally today, but generally speaking, with a lot of influencers. And I'm going to stereotype to say younger people, because generally speaking, it's true. With people actually going, right, okay, I need some great Instagram photos. Where can I go on my holiday to get great Instagram photos that everybody else will be impressed with? And then they go on this holiday with a friend who won't be the friend after the holiday, because all they've done is spent every single day for 7 days taking hundreds of pictures of them in all these different places. And they get back from the holiday quite tired to go, oh, wow. So how was your holiday? Yeah, we took loads of pictures. Great. But you don't take time to actually see things. Now, how many people will go over, and this is genuine, like this is genuine. People actually fly over to Russia to pay 400 quid to go and get photos done on a private jet that never leaves the bloody runway. Like that actually happens because influencers want those pictures to make them look successful, have a Lamborghini parked outside. We've all seen the YouTube videos. Look at me, how successful I am. Here's my flat that I've borrowed for the day and my Lamborghini and my private plane. It's all crap. And these people go away, and influencers now will fly over to the Colosseum in Rome to have pictures done outside the Colosseum without actually taking a step back to relax, breathe, and appreciate the view of the Colosseum. And it's crazy. That sort of stuff amazes me.
It's like when you go to a concert and someone stood there filming it, and you're like, really?
Not actually watching it, just 3 inches up.
It's happening right there. Like, you're never going to watch this back. And if you do, the sound quality is going to be awful. Just enjoy the moment. Take a photo by all means to tie the memory in, but
so many of my friends will know the quote. I'm always saying to them, just 3 inches up. That is literally where life is. Just 3 inches away from your phone, and start taking things in. Now we talk about, and again we talked about it last week, but I'm going to bring it up because it's still as relevant now as it was last time. So gratitude was really big, and obviously making sure you take time to do the gratitude side of things as well. And I think now it's still as pivotal as it was in season 1. If not more, because so much more is going on now. So, Duncan, give a couple of examples of how you practice gratitude within your life for people.
Ooh, nice. For me, it's about embracing it as I go along. So, there are some great techniques that you can use to improve how naturally you do this. So one of the best examples, and a study was done into this, is if you write down 3 things that you're grateful for at the end of each day. And that feels good in itself, but what it also does is it trains you to spot and notice these things that make you feel more grateful. Because you'll be doing something and you'll go, oh, I can write about that tonight. And that kind of triggers you to go, oh yes, I'm grateful for this. And that's brilliant. But for me, it's actually about noticing those things throughout the day as they happen. And I've spent a long time training myself to do that, but that comes quite naturally to me. So yeah, that's something that for me, it's about embracing that moment as it's happening and recognizing that you're grateful for it. I think I find if I'm spending a lot of my time, so I use my phone a lot, technology, within my business, the way that I keep in touch with people, I quite often be, obviously less so at the moment, but out and about and on the go, and having technology there to be able to keep in touch and run my business is really useful. So, but I know that when I'm not really living in the moment, when I'm not embracing the day, I will be face down in my phone way more than I'd like to be. And I notice that now. And when I notice it, rather than going, oh, I'm doing it again and getting angry with myself, or rather than going, oh yeah, well, I'll just scroll a little bit more, I notice it and I go, right, it's time to do something different. And even if I'm scrolling my phone because I'm procrastinating because I don't want to sit and write that article I know I've got to write, rather than what I used to do, which is get frustrated, put the phone on do not disturb, put it the other side of the room and carry on with what I'm writing, like that's all well and good. But if I find that I'm getting distracted by things like that, actually I'll stop and I'll go and do something else. I'll go for a walk, or I'll go. Sometimes it's as simple as I'll go and make a cup of tea, and while the tea's brewing, I'll do like 10 press-ups, which is nothing. But it's just enough to go, I'm doing something, I'm getting blood flowing, it's different, which allows me to then come back. You're muted, Stefan. Allows me to then come back and refocus on what I'm doing. There you go.
The famous quote. We got the famous 2020 quote into the podcast.
You're on mute.
But no, I totally agree with that. And it's such a good thing to do. Like if anybody takes anything away from this that they do in their regular day, I would say, yeah, when you're just not feeling something and you're procrastinating and you're just got like mental block, then take the time to jump out and do something else. Now for me, everybody knows I take things to the extreme. If it was me, I would just jump out and then go and do some snowboarding or something for the day, because why not? Which I think are closed at the minute, so probably can't do that. And I've been in lockdown for 2 weeks. I'm only out of lockdown or quarantine today, which is super exciting. I'm actually going to leave the house. Well, I did, to go for a swim. But yeah, so absolutely crucial, really, even if it is as small as just go make a cup of tea. It really, really works. Just changes that headspace, doesn't it? Duncan, we're going to wrap it up. I think we're just over time, but it's been great. Absolutely fantastic to have you on the show. I think, guys, we, as a takeaway for this, realistically, homework for everyone. Go away and do the gratitude thing at the end of the day and talk about the 3 things that you are grateful for. You will feel better for it, I guarantee you. Duncan, we got one second before we leave. We got a lovely message from Hannah. Duncan has taught me is that it's not failure if you've learned something from it. Sometimes things just need to run their course, and that's okay. Totally.
Okay. There's no such thing as failure, only feedback. Not my quote. I stole it. I used to say that. I don't believe that anymore. Now, I love failure. And I fully embrace it, because the more you fail, the more you learn. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of it. If you want to be successful, you've got to make mistakes. Because that's how you grow. That's how you learn.
It is. I've made loads, but it gets you to where you need to be. You need to learn. But yeah, for everybody who's been joining, commenting, Shaquille, Jan, Sarah, guys, thank you for jumping in on the comments. Please do share the show with people. You think anybody can benefit from what we've talked about today, or what we talk about tomorrow or Thursday, which is another secret. We'll let you you know who's coming on tomorrow morning. 11 o'clock, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. Training on Wednesdays. So, guys, thank you very much for joining me. I am going to drop in the comments here so everybody who's watching can see www.mindaffinity.co.uk/relax. If you're interested, and if you are struggling to sleep, then Duncan's voice will send you to sleep. I guarantee you. So anybody who's still awake watching this. So, Duncan, once again, thank you very much for joining us today. You've been absolutely awesome. What a great way to kick off season 2.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's been great. Any
final thoughts for everybody you want to leave them with?
Yeah, look, obviously, come and check out Relax Club. There's a free trial at the minute. But if that's not right for you, just find what works for you to take some time to focus on yourself in whatever form that is. It's so easy and it's so encouraged these days to be so focused on what you're doing and what's going on out there, and that's brilliant. But most importantly, it's got to start with you. Take some time to just find out who you are and what works for you.
Awesome. Duncan, thank you very much. Guys, for everybody who's watched, love you all, and peace out. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 11 a.m.